You're nearing the end of this course on preparing data for analysis in Microsoft Excel. You've put great effort into this course by completing the videos, readings, quizzes, and exercises. You should now have a stronger grasp of several foundational concepts for understanding data analysis. These include the fundamentals of working with data in Microsoft Excel, creating and using formulas and functions in Excel, and preparing data for analysis using functions. You're now ready to apply your knowledge in the exercise and the final course assessment. The assessment is a graded quiz that consists of 30 questions that are related to topics you covered throughout the course. But before you start, let's recap on what you've learned. In the first week, you were introduced to Microsoft Excel. You learned how to use Excel by exploring how to enter and format data, manage worksheets, read large blocks of data, and sort and filter data. Microsoft Excel is a useful data analysis tool. It is used in everyday business to store, calculate, and gain insights from data. You learned how to navigate Excel using its UI. For example, the title bar that displays the name of your file and search option, and the command tabs, which are organized into tabs and ribbons. You also learned that a worksheet is where you input data into cells. Data can be added to worksheets by importing it or creating it manually. Data isn't always easy to read, but you've learned how to use formatting to improve the readability of a spreadsheet. You also explored the keyboard shortcuts for data entry and formatting. Excel has various features that help you to read large blocks of data. You learned that you can use the freeze panes, new window, name box features, and keyboard shortcuts to make it easier to read your data. You can use the sort and filter feature to organize and sort data quickly and efficiently. There are also different sort methods, such as alphanumeric sort and multi-level sort, that you can use to sort your data. The filter feature helps you to control data visibility in a worksheet and provides information on how many rows match a specific criteria. In the following week, your focus shifted to functions and formulas in Excel. You discovered that a formula in Excel is a calculation performed on the values in a range of cells in your worksheets. Examples of these calculations include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Once the calculation is completed, the formula returns a result, even if it is an error. You then explored how formulas work, along with the operators they use. Formulas can be static or dynamic. A static formula means that the numbers are fixed, so it always generates the same results. A dynamic formula is one in which the results depend on the current values in the reference cells, and it reacts to any changes in the values by updating the result. You also learned how to control calculations. Here you learned that Excel controls calculations using the order of precedence. This means that Excel processes the mathematical operators in formulas according to the hierarchical position of each symbol within the order of precedence. You learned about the hierarchy of symbols and discovered that you can also control a calculation using parentheses. Next, you explored the relative and absolute cell references. These concepts relate to how a cell reference appears in a calculation. A relative cell reference means that Excel adjusts the cell reference of a copied formula relative to its new location to make sure it's correct. An absolute reference means that Excel keeps the reference constant. In other words, it doesn't adjust it. You also learned about functions, which are predefined formulas built into Excel. You explored popular functions such as sum, average, and count, and learned how to create formulas with them using features such as the AutoSum shortcut and the insert function wizard. You also explored different percentage calculations, and you learned how to create reliable percentage formulas using the correct syntax. The third week was all about preparing data for analysis using functions. You started off by exploring how inconsistent data affects analysis and the mistakes that can be made when inputting data. Examples of these errors include misspellings, unnecessary characters and spaces, and incorrectly placed entries. You now know that errors such as these have a negative impact on data analysis. You also learned how to fix these errors in your data before submitting it for analysis. It is important to standardize text data before analyzing it. You can do this using functions. The left, mid, and right functions are used to return a specific number of characters from either the left, the middle, or the right side of a cell entry. Typically, these functions are used in situations where you need to transfer parts of the cell content to a different column. The trim function removes empty spaces from text strings, except for the spaces between words. This is useful for when you suspect that there are random spaces at the beginning or end of an entry. You also learned that there are 3 functions, upper, lower, and proper, that you can use to standardize the case used in text entries. Your reports will look tidy and professional if you standardize the case. You can also use the concat function to combine entries from different cells in a spreadsheet into a single cell entry. Next, you discovered that dates are important for data analysis. Without date and time data, it is more difficult to analyze and compare results over time. You explored functions such as today or now, which help you add dynamic date and time information to your worksheet. You also learned that other functions, such as year, month, or day, can be used to split dates into their component parts to facilitate analysis. Finally, you learned how logical functions, such as if and ifs, add another dimension to calculations because they ask Microsoft Excel to check for criteria and perform different actions depending on the result. You then explored how other functions, such as the or and the and functions, make the logical formulas you create even more efficient and versatile. You also learned how to produce specific and targeted formulas by using functions such as SUMIF, AVERAGEIF, and COUNTIF. These functions combine the if functionality with the actions of standard functions such as SUM. Now that you've built a solid understanding of the fundamentals of Excel, formulas, functions, and learned how to prepare data for analysis, you're ready to test your knowledge by undertaking the exercise and the final course assessment. Best of luck.